What is up, duelists? Arts and Crafts here, back from a much needed vacation, as I'm sure you can all tell by my beautiful golden brown skin, reed sunburn, and my absolute dire need of a haircut. But before I return to the banalities of everyday life, I wanted to bring you guys another episode of our GOAT format Season 6 War League playoff coverage here. If you do not recall where we're at, we are deep into the semifinals now, looking at both matches between Bug Catchers and Damage Step, as well as Bomb Squad versus the Bones Generation. Um, for today, we are going to be going back up to the top half of the bracket between Bugs and Damage Step, which, if you recall, we had our tournament favorites, the Bug Catchers, got off to a not so hot start here up against Damage Step, only winning one out of the six Wave 1 matches, so they just have a single player left here on the team fighting for qualification to the finals, that being Chaos Control player Rev, who defeated Ludi Pablione. For the first round feature match, we did see Warrior player Bobby Buggets defeat Matt Uber on Steingate, and is that's who was chosen for the Wave 2 matchup here up against Rev. So Rev trying to get, the Cinderella story reverse sweep here up against Damage Step. Plenty of Yu-Gi-Oh to play, but definitely an uphill battle for them and the one-seeded Bug Catchers. Interesting choice here from Damage Step, at least on paper here, running out a Warrior player against Chaos Control, considering Damage Step has four other players in the stable, three of which are on Chaos Turbo, which generally is considered to have a pretty good matchup into Control. But as we'll see in a little bit, Rev's list is less pure Chaos Control and more of just like Chaos Turbo splashing some Scapegoat Metamorphosis stuff. So maybe the smart folks over at Damage Step realize that even if on paper maybe a bad matchup for Warrior, Bobby's list definitely, seems to have a decent matchup against the specific flavor of Chaos Control that Rev is bringing here. And we will go ahead and take a look at these lists. So as mentioned, this is Rev's Chaos Control list, at least from the scouting that I could see here. As mentioned, this is very much more towards the Chaos Turbo end of the Chaos Control spectrum, as opposed to leaning more towards Goat Control. Why do I say that? Well, you see stuff like triple Gravekeeper Spy in the main deck. Generally, the third copy is cut when if you think about a standard Chaos Turbo list and figure out what stuff do you trim down to fit in the Scapegoats, the Metamorphoses, etc. Usually, the third Spy is a common choice to cut there. Similar with the Night of Silence, they're playing at least one copy in the 55, which is often a common cut, as well as double Discard Trap, double Right Get Keep Break here in the main deck. A lot of times, Chaos Control lists will only play one copy because they're cutting down on the Night of Silence and things like that. But Rev here, like I mentioned, is much more of a Chaos Turbo-esque control list. They do play three copies of Scapegoat in the 55. At least two are in the main deck. Wouldn't be surprised if the third was in as well. I haven't seen any creature swaps, which is a little bit interesting. But not always something that makes the cut. They are playing at least one copy of Metamorphosis though. For specifically the Warrior matchup coming out of the side, we do see stuff like Swords of Revealing Light, as well as multiple copies of Zambira. So that's stuff that Bobby will likely have to worry about here post side against Rev's list. Let's go take a look at Bobby's Warrior list here in the semifinals. Relatively standard stuff here. For the most part, they are on triple Kaiku main deck, which is definitely good into a very Chaos Turbo, Chaos Control heavy metagame here in War League. They're also main decking a Mind Control, which will, line up nicely against all of the flips that Rev is playing. Notably, Mind Control in the main deck without me ever seeing any sort of Gravekeeper Spies, either in the main or the side. A lot of the times people like to pair Mind Control with the Gravekeeper Spy, so that if you Mind Control your opponent's Gravekeeper Spy, can at least get the search off of it. But I feel like people are more and more realizing that Mind Control is just generally kind of a good card overall. And if you're not a fan of Spy in Warrior, you don't really need to force it if you just want to play the Mind Controls. It's not super necessary. You can still get a lot of value out of the card just by stealing Magician of Faith, using it to answer Chaos monsters, or just moving a monster out of the way so you can attack directly with one of your big threats like a Kaiku or a Donzalug. And that seems to be, the strategy that Bobby is going with here. Now, as mentioned in their Wave 1 match, they were playing against a Steingate list, so a lot of the stuff coming out of the side is not anything you would really expect to see. Here against Chaos Control, like the Threatening Roars and probably the extra Battle Traps are not going to come in, but I would expect to see the Book of Moons come in, very strong card against specifically Thousand Eyes Restrict, for example, as well as the Smashing Ground and additional copies of that if they have them, because we know that Rev is running Zombiros. Cool. So without further ado, hopping into the game. As always, I have randomized both seats of these players as to not spoil the outcome, but let's hop right into it. We'll be watching it from Rev's perspective here. And they will win the rock, paper, scissors, which is really nice start here for the Chaos Control player. Excuse me. And they are going to lead out with a Delinquent Duo. Very, very strong start. Warrior, not so great at playing through Duo. They don't have a lot of the natural discard fodder that like more Chaos-aligned decks will have. So let's see what they snag here with this first Trinity piece. Hitting a Dust Tornado. Not the most valuable card, but you'll take the +1 any day of the week. And Bobby will discard a Solemn Judgment. Not the best early game card, so not surprising to see that there as well. But Rev off to an early lead thanks to that turn 1 Trinity piece. And then we're just going to go set a back row pass. Nothing crazy. Definitely could be like a scapegoat or something. We'll see what Bobby can do now that they're down a card. Going to lead out with a Pot of Greed, so recuperating that card advantage very early on. Evening things up. Into a normal summon Blade Knight. Sure. And Rev will or activate Torrential Tribute on summon. Yeah, so nice play there. Setting the Torrential without any monsters here to get in the way. And just going to get a nice little 1-for-1 trade there. Deal with the Blade Knight, steal the tempo away, and, protect our life points. Bobby will just set a couple back row, having already used their normal summon, of course, and pass back over to Rev. We're going to get a Trap Dust Shoot here out of Bobby, though, in the standby phase, so we'll get a peek at Rev's hand. Looks like they only had a single Dust Shoot target in the hand, being that Knight Assailant that we know that they play. Ooh, and we do see a hand of Graceful Charity, Heavy Storm, Metamorphosis, and Creature Swap. So Creature Swap was not a card that I saw at all in their Wave 1 matchup, like I mentioned previously, but it does look like they are main decking at least one copy here. So a little bit of intel for Bobby off of this Trap Dust Shoot, as well as getting to spin back that Knight Assailant. Spinning back the Knight Assailant is also pretty nice here, considering the Graceful Charity in hand. Gets rid of Rev's, one of Rev's best discard fodder options off of the Graceful Charity if they found a flip monster to pair with it, of course. When all is said and done, Rev's hand just really doesn't do too much here. Might just have to fire off this Graceful Charity without any real expectation of getting card advantage value out of it, just to kind of, filter through some of the known cards and try to find some combo pieces here for, your meta and your creature swap. Two very good cards, but not when you have no monsters to do anything with. So Rev definitely needs to probably go digging sooner rather than later with this Graceful, even if they don't really have the optimal hand to go for it now, thanks to this Trap Dust Shoot. Yeah, Assailant will get shuffled back, and Rev, we'll see if they choose to fire off the Graceful now, or is going to wait until maybe they can, find something else to pair with it. Going to fire off the Heavy Storm, dealing with that Sakuretsu armor. Okay, so maybe clearing the way for a Graceful Charity resolution here. Maybe doesn't want it to get Solemn Judgmented or anything, which, we know Warrior decks like to play multiple copies of. Yeah, Graceful going to get fired off here. See what they draw. Going to go ahead, discard a Sinister Serpent. Wow, okay, so finding the Sinister, pretty lucky draw off of that Graceful to actually get some card advantage off of it. So nice little plus there from the Graceful. And then they're going to discard a Dekoichi as well. Okay, so 2 out of the 3 cards that they drew were Sinister and Dekoichi. And so discarding the Dekoichi, a little bit interesting, because that would have been a nice play this turn, of course, unless they have another normal summonable monster. Sinister Serpent, of course, will come in handy later on down the line with the Creature Swap and the Metamorphosis in hand, as long as it doesn't get banished from like a Kaiku or something by Bobby. So we'll see what this last card in hand is, because I feel like this could really make or break this turn for Ev. It's going to be a Breaker the Magical Warrior. Wow, interesting play here. So we're just going to go normal summon Breaker, get the 1900 beater on board. Obviously no back row at the moment to pop with the effect, but just getting aggressive, and hopefully, I guess maybe the idea is that if Bobby has a Kaiku or something, Breaker will be big enough so that it can't get in and deal with your Sinister Serpent and make your hand terrible. But interesting, yeah, going for the Breaker over the Dekoichi. I guess the idea being that if Bobby has, like, Knocker Minecon plus Kaiku, then you're just going to, like, straight up lose. So Breaker is actually a little bit more of a conservative play here, just because it has a little bit stronger of a board presence, and it doesn't lose to Nobleman and things like that. So going to hit in for 1900. Kind of an unorthodox play here for a control deck into Warrior, but I can understand the reasons to go for this, because if you can survive the next turn or so, you will start getting a lot of value out of the Sinister Serpent, thanks to your creature swap, thanks to your Metamorphosis. So playing a little bit of a long game here for Rev. Bobby, let's see what the plan is. We're going to go Snatch Seal the Breaker, though. That hurts pretty bad. And then Kaiku here is just going to be basically GG, right? Okay, no, just a Mystic Swordsman. Okay, so we're going to get in for 2,800. That's a good chunk of life points. But the Sinister will come back and unlock Rev's hand. So Bobby's just going to set a back row pass. Nothing super crazy. Rev could very easily just go for, like a Thousand Eyes Restrict play here with the Metamorphosis if they so choose. However, they will be playing into Trap Dust Shoot with the Sinister Serpent here if they grab it, which is a very interesting decision. We'll see if Rev chooses to potentially play into the Dust Shoot. One has already been used here, but if your Serpent gets Dust Shooted away here, once again, your hand is absolutely terrible. So do you want to risk it? They're going to grab it. Say, you know what, Bobby, if you have it, you have it. And they do not. Wow, okay. All right. So now we're just going to go for Metamorphosis. Looks like we are, yep. Serpent into Thousand Eyes. Does Bobby just have another out for it anyway? Do they have like a Book of Moon or a Ring of Destruction? Steal that Breaker probably, yep. And then go attack over the Mystic Swordsman. Sakuretsu Armor, of course, deals with this, but you can just get the Sinister Serpent back later. Not the end of the world. Just going to pass, though. Okay, just going to sit here on the Thousand Eyes. Not going to risk any sort of battle trap action here. Yeah, if the set was like Ring of Destruction or something, it would have been used already anyway. So if Bobby does have an out to the Thousand Eyes, it's probably going to have to be a battle trap here at this point. Ooh, Exiled Force is a good one, though. Ripping that off the top. Pretty solid find. It is only going to clear the way for this Mystic Swordsman to get in for some damage, but 900 a turn isn't nothing. Rev not under too much pressure, though, and of course we know that Sinister Serpent in the grave can just kind of wall this out forever until Bobby can find an out for it. Grab that Sinister. You know this isn't Dust Shoot, otherwise it would have been used last turn. And wouldn't be surprised to just see set Sinister or set something behind it, maybe. Thinking, though, just going to set a back row pass. Okay. Not even risking the Sinister Serpent in case there's like a knock or something in the mix. Makes sense to me. It's not like you need to block the 900 damage, like I was saying. Not the craziest clock you'll ever see in the world. Rev drops down to 3,400, which is a little bit scary, but with just the Mystic Swordsman bearing down on you, not the, like I said, not a crazy fast clock by any stretch of the imagination. We're going to go normal summon Sinister Serpent. Are we going to fire off the creature swap here and just steal the Mystic Swordsman? Maybe the idea is Rev has a lot of flip monsters in hand. We know they're on triple Gravekeeper Spy, for example. And that's not something you really want to be playing into the Mystic Swordsman. So even though the Swordsman isn't doing too much damage to you right now, it could be making your hand a lot worse because it's preventing you from setting cards that you really want to be setting right now. So maybe you just use your creature swap here, steal the Mystic Swordsman, get it off your opponent's side of the field, and then you can actually start setting your flips and getting some value, is the idea. Yeah, so that's what we're going to see here. Going to go attack over that Sinister, totally fine, get that back next turn, deal a little bit of damage, and now we'll see a set monster. No, not going to set any monster there. Interesting play. Do we really need to use... I mean, creature swap was known, so it's not like Bobby's ever going to intentionally play into it, right? Like, and get blown out by it. But I feel like just taking the Mystic Swordsman doesn't do too much for you, right? Like, maybe you could finagle a situation later on down the line where Bobby thinks, okay, they can summon an extra monster, thinking the Mystic Swordsman is going to protect them from the creature swap. But then you can, like, ring the other monster, ring the swordsman after activating the creature swap and steal the good one, maybe. But no, just using it here, playing it safe, stealing the Mystic Swordsman, and maybe just setting up for some flip monsters down the line. But this is obviously, of course, not the strongest monster you'll ever see into a warrior deck, so we'll see how long this sticks around. Bobby's going to go for reinforcement of the army, going to grab that Donzalug, start ripping cards out of the opponent's hand. Especially good right now with the Sinister Serpent in the grave. Because you'll probably be getting a free plus here if this connects. Go normal summon that Dawn, beat over the Mystic Swordsman, kind of as expected. Ooh, but Rev does have the Raigeki break to protect their board and their hand. However, they have to discard a Chaos Sorcerer. Ooh. Yeah, no lights drawn so far. So Chaos Monsters just kind of rotting in hand here. Always something that can happen against warrior decks that don't give you a lot of time to set up here. And Chaos Sorcerer just... being used here as discard fodder. Going to pop that Dawn Salute, keep their Mystic Swordsman alive, but that is still a nice little +1 here for this Dawn, of course, dealing with both the Sork and the Regeki break. And at the end of the day, Rev still just has this Mystic Swordsman on the board, which can still just get run over by any other monster in Bobby's list for the most part. Still in this, though, Rev going to re-grab that Sinister Serpent, getting lots of value out of this card, of course. And then Bobby's actually just going to Sakuretsu the Mystic Swordsman, so not trusting that they can just draw something to beat over the Swordsman at any point. Just going to Saku it here, okay? And Rev is going to T-set pass, likely that Sinister Serpent there, but, could be a real flip. Lots of goodies in the grave if it is like Magician of Faith, for example. And notably, this is the first time all game that Rev has tested for a Nobleman of Crossout or a Mind Control. So we'll see if Bobby has that here. Pretty deep into the deck, would be pretty likely because we know they're running double knock plus at least one Mindcon in the main deck. Just going to go normal summon Breaker, though. Breaker pop the back row. It is a Scapegoat, which will get chained. Classic sequence of events here in this matchup. Fill up the board, make it really difficult for Bobby to get in for any damage at any point. Going to go attack the set monster, which very likely is Sinister Serpent. And it is, okay. So breaking Rev's Goat Lock. You could have just chosen not to attack there, but you actually don't win the deck out battle right now, so maybe not. Rev here grabs the Serpent. Gonna go Upstart Goblin, dig a little bit further into the deck. Set a monster pass. Just gonna wall out for as long as possible. Extra monster here for Bobby, though. Very good into a Scapegoat board because it, greatly increases or decreases the amount of time it will take for you to clear out all these goat tokens. Go start clearing out each of those, saying, you know what, I bet this is just Sinister Serpent, not even going to bother attacking it. Makes total sense to me. Rev's going to set another monster and another back row, not flipping this one up, basically confirming to me that it is the Sinister Serpent, unless it's like a Sangan or something, and they were getting a little bit cute. But it's not a real flip, of course. And so we'll see how Bobby navigates this with a new potential set monster on the board that is unlikely to be that Sinister Serpent. Just going to prioritize these Go tokens for now. Do we have main phase 2 knock for the new set? No. I'm just going to say, okay, it is what it is. We'll see if it resolves. I guess if it is Spy and it resolves, it's not the end of the world because you do have the Ninja Grandmaster on the board. Let's see, though. Just draw go. Okay, so Rev with 2 fake sets here. Like I said, very likely that it is just a Gravekeeper Spy that you don't even want to flip up because then it's just a sitting duck for the Grandmaster. Bobby would love to find a Nobleman at this point. We're going to go attack into the set. It is the Sinister. Okay, so the second one was the Sinister. First one, who knows? Is it Sangan? Is it Spy? Could very well be Spy. Gonna attack in. No, it is Sangan. Okay, so Rev just finding all the bluffs here. And then in this board, you probably grab Tsukuyomi so that you can start dealing with these monsters, right? Seems like a pretty good pickup at this point in time. Gonna grab Magician of Faith instead, actually. Pretty clear at this point that Bobby doesn't have any knocks or anything, so maybe just looking to recur Graceful Charity with the Sinister and start grinding out some card advantage. Also could have the Tsukuyomi in hand already. Bobby's just going to set a back row pass. Rev holding Prio in case there's Dust Shoot shenanigans here. We're going to go draw face Scapegoat, keeping themselves down below 4 cards to play around that Dust Shoot. Nice little play there you can do here in Goat format. Fill up the board with those Goat tokens. Will prevent them from summoning any other monsters this turn, but not the end of the world because they can just go ahead and set likely that Magician of Faith. Also notably, skipping on the Sinister Serpent regrab here because that would have also put them back up to 4 cards to play into this Dust Shoot. So Rev very, very carefully playing around to resolve this Magician of Faith and start going crazy with card advantage. Which, if that can come through, will be a very, very clear avenue to victory here in this game. Oh, and we have Pot of Greed as well. So going for the Magician of Faith set here additionally will make it so that this Pot of Greed will get you its +1 without getting up to 4 cards. So very, very nicely playing around Trap Dust Shoot here is Rev. Sometimes players do like very, very awkward stuff to play around Dust Shoot that kind of makes it not worth it. Like sometimes it's like just get hit with the Dust Shoot and go on with your life, right? Here though, Rev is playing around it very, very nicely though, because they're able to set that Likely Fate, they're able to resolve Pot, they're able to do all these really, really powerful things while playing around Dust Shoot, so it definitely seems worth it at this point in time. And especially when Bobby has 3 back row that hasn't really done anything recently, very likely that one of them is at least that Trap Dust Shoot, because we know Bobby's running 3 copies in the main. Yeah, drawing back up to 3 cards thanks to this pot. Set a couple back row. Setting 2 back row here is nice as well because it means that Rev can draw for turn and grab the Sinister Serpent in the standby phase to pair with the Graceful Charity if they so choose, without going up to 4 cards. Once again, planning to play around Dust Shoot on the next turn as well. So really, really nice stuff here from Rev, and isn't a pretty solid spot here. Just resolving Trinity pieces, getting flips on the board, filling up the board with goat tokens, making it really hard for Bobby to make any progress. And this is, we might have gotten to the point in this game one where control has kind of officially stabilized and Bobby is just kind of playing from behind in kind of like garbage time, as people say. Still plenty of Yu-Gi-Oh left to play though. Bobby here gonna go attack that new set monster. Is that Magician of Faith? Show me that Graceful Charity, sure. So now Bobby here smartly attacking into the Faith, so that if Rev draws for turn and grabs the Sinister, they will go up to 4 cards. Better than letting Rev flip it on their own terms on their own turn, right? This also does get Light engraved though for future chaos. So a little bit of a double-edged sword there. So maybe leaning towards Bobby actually having that Dust Shoot right now. Still not confirmed, of course, but attacking here makes me think that it's pretty likely that they do. Because they're turning on chaos just to make it so that the Dust Shoot play around is a little bit more awkward for Rev. Could be a bluff though, of course. And Grandmaster will kill a token, sure, making a little bit of progress. But you can see how strong Scapegoat is against aggressive decks, right? Just makes it so hard for them to do any amount of damage. And now Rev has the tough choice. We know they have the Graceful Charity in hand. Do you want to just grab this Sinister Serpent, go up to 4, and potentially turn on the Dust Shoot? Whereas if you don't grab the Sinister, you're kind of foregoing, maximum value here. Gonna grab it though. Say, okay, if you got Dust Shoot, you got it. Pass Prio, Dust Shoot coming in, and we'll see what Rev's hand is looking like. We have the known Graceful, the known Sinister, Upstart Goblin, which is pretty cute here. Must have drawn that for turn, or they're holding it to play around the potential Dust Shoot, which would have been pretty neat. And then a Chaos Sorcerer, which is now live, thanks to the Magician of Faith here, hitting the grave. So, couple options here for Rev, right? You have live Chaos to send away, which is never a bad choice off of Dust Shoot. But you also have the Sinister Serpent that was about to get good value out of this Graceful Charity. So, tough choice here for Bobby. Really good spot for Rev, I think, at this point. We'll see what Bobby can do, though. Gonna send back the Serpent, playing around that Graceful instead. Maybe we have an out to this Chaos Sorcerer. We shall see, though. Rev is gonna go fire off that Upstart now. Could always just redraw into the Sinister and make their hand insane. Now we're gonna go set a monster, pass. Okay. So, holding that Sork, saying, you know what, I don't need to use it just yet, even if, banishing a Ninja Grandmaster seems pretty nice. Chaos is live for Bobby, so it's not like banishing a light or a dark matters too much at this point. So I can see holding it. You have all these goats on board, especially game one when there's not like a Sura Priest or anything to worry about. Pretty unlikely that you're going to be under tons of stress in the near term, so holding that Sork for a better opportunity seems fine to me. We're going to go Breaker attack a set, Breaker kill a goat, Grandmaster kill a goat. Set monster could very well just be that Sinister, which would be kind of interesting with the Graceful Charity in hand, but Rev may be trying to get a little cute here. We're going to go flip someone to Koichi, though. Okay, Koichi's going to dig a little bit further into the deck. Not the strongest monster, of course, against Warrior. Can't really do much into this board, but digging a little bit deeper is always nice. We're going to go fire off Metamorphosis on the last remaining goat token, though, so we're going to go into another copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict. Suck in that Ninja Grandmaster is the idea here, but Bobby's going to chain Torrential and wipe the board. Okay, so things are going to get really, really simplified here. But when all is said and done, Rev is actually just up a bunch of cards, it feels like, right? I would have to guess Bobby probably has a Solemn Judgment in the back row at this point in the game. They're probably waiting to Solemn the Graceful Charity. So even if Rev could go for that play. But yeah, things are really getting simplified down here, and Rev's greater card advantage that they've just been able to grind out turn after turn with their Trinity pieces, with their Magician of Faiths, etc., is going to slowly, put them in a very commanding position. Rev here going to fire off that Graceful. No Solemn from Bobby. Let's see that Sinister discard plus a friend. Oh, we're going to go Spy and Raigeki Break. Interesting choice there. Okay. So keeping the Sinister in hand, maybe wants to keep it safe for like a potential Metamorphosis in the future. I'm going to go set a monster pass. Okay. So Rev discarding a spy, which could have just been set here. Maybe they had another copy of it, of course. Bobby's going to go Blade Knight, full 2000 attack, can negate flips, attacking set. It is another copy of Spy. Kind of telegraphed with the Spy discard, of course, because very strong card against Warrior. But if you have two copies in hand, they're kind of redundant. And they're going to go summon out the third copy from the deck there. So Rev adding insult to injury. Not only are they up a bunch of cards, stabilized pretty nicely, they've also resolved a Gravekeeper Spy, which is Warrior's worst nightmare in a lot of cases, especially with their Ninja Grandmaster already being used here. So unless they have Call the Haunted or Premature, going to be really hard to get through these guys. Exiled gone as well, right? And now it's just kind of up to Rev to find a time for when they want to push for the game, feels like. Now saying it's time to go for that Chaos Sorcerer. Definitely makes sense. Bobby going to allow that. I feel like they probably don't have Solemn set. Otherwise, why are you allowing that Graceful Charity through? Maybe you don't have to Solemn the Graceful, but seems... I guess maybe at this point you're so far behind that if you have Solemn, you just want to save it for a potential game push with like BLS plus Ring or something. Maybe that's your only out here. But yeah, if that's your line, you're just gonna get ground to dust here by Rev over the next few turns. Sorkir gonna banish that. Blade Knight can poke for 12 with the Spy, might as well start this clock a little bit. Set a back row pass. And yeah, Rev very much in the driver's seat here. Ooh, Tribe Infecting Virus is actually a pretty nice card here, though. The all spellcaster board here for Rev, a little bit of a liability. And they do have a card still in hand to discard as well. Prio, discard, knock, wipe the board. And Bobby might have just found a second lease on life here. Gonna beat in for 16. Mirror Force gonna come through here for Rev to protect their life points. Definitely makes sense there. You want to stay out of Ring of Destruction range as best as possible now. If kind of feels like that's the only way you lose at this point. So using the Mirror Force just on the single tribe feels pretty good to me. Rev, though, board completely wiped. Gonna have to kind of rebuild from scratch. But in Chaos Control, not really the end of the world. See what we can do. Good. Finds Thunder Dragon with only 10 cards left in deck. Okay, now they've thinned pretty significantly at this point. They only have 8 cards left in their deck. 2 Chaos Monsters gone, all 3 Spies gone, a Dekoichi, Sangan, Breaker, all gone. So they actually are kind of low on damage dealing cards outside of like exactly BLS. And it might be tough for them to actually deal the 6,300 points of damage at this point with only 8 turns to go. Still definitely possible. Like I said, BLS, strongest monster in the game, so anything's possible as long as you still have that in your deck. But it is a little bit hairy if Bobby can find a way to out that big guy. Okay, Tribe is another nice monster here. 1600 attack is just a nice little clock. But the ring is going to come down. Okay, that is one of Bobby's strongest ways of closing out this game gone. It also deals 1600 points of damage to them. But it removes one of Rev's biggest damage dealing threats once again. And now it might, unless they have like third Dekoichi, it kind of is just BLS as a potential damage threat at this point, right? Unless they have like a Sura in the main or something, but we didn't see that in the prep. Gonna pass though. Okay, so Bobby, is the plan to just go all in on the deck out play? Kind of seems like that's your only option. Unless you can kind of force through. I mean, Rev's at 1800. You could get lucky and force through an attack, but that seems pretty unlikely with tons of backer here from Rev, and we know that they play another Scapegoat somewhere in the 55. Might not be in the main, but decently likely that they've seen it at this point if they are playing it. Rev just going to set a monster. Okay. DD Warrior Lady, that's a clock. Tsukuyomi is going to flip down the DD Warrior Lady, but it will just die, and that's more attack points off the board here for Rev. Can we kill? This is one of the downsides of Chaos Control. Sometimes they just can't kill the opponent. Reminder that they've also resolved double Upstart Goblin this game as well. So Bobby a little bit higher on life than they would be in a non-Upstart list Chaos Control list. Knock here going to come down, deal with the DD Warrior Lady. Going to set another monster though. How are we going to deal 4,700 before we deck out? Got to find BLS. Got to get through this back row. Warrior plays a million battle traps. We haven't even seen Mirror Force yet. We're going to go Tribute for Thunder Dragon, okay? Get 1,600 attack points on the board. Bobby can just use that mirror force, okay. But do we have enough defensive cards to deal with the Blackluster Soldier? That is going to be the question. Oh, we're just going to have to summon it out here just to protect Rev's life points. Yeah, this is so awkward. Rev up a million cards, but struggling to deal the last points of damage, and now the last big beater in the list in Blackluster Soldier having to be summoned defensively in main phase 2, and just kind of a sitting duck here for Bobby potentially. And it's gonna get solemned. Wow, okay. So Bobby, yeah, gonna drop down to 2350, but the BLS is dealt with. And now Rev, the play is what? We have to go. I mean, what's the last card in hand? The last card in hand is the third Thunder Dragon, right? Where's the Sinister Servant? What happened to Sinister? Did they only search one Thunder Dragon? They might have only searched one Thunder Dragon. Just to like try to not deck out as fast. That's really awkward too. Okay, so they have the Sinister in hand. And so the play here is what? I guess just hope you draw the third Thunder Dragon and try and tribute it. And attack twice. And yeah, but I think at this point, Bobby has done a really good job just running Rev out of options. Top deck Graceful, sure, Bobby has plenty of cards to work with. They could even win the game on damage here. BLS hitting the board, sure. Go for game. Wow, and that's game one. Holy moly, wow. So Rev in an absolutely commanding position in terms of cards, but in typical Chaos Control fashion, unfortunately, that's kind of one of the biggest weaknesses of the deck. Sometimes you just run out of gas and can't kill the opponent. Bobby, Warrior is an aggressive deck, but it plays a lot of defensive cards just because it needs to, using them nicely to remove all of Rev's threats, and then yeah, Rev just kind of had to make some awkward plays down the stretch, and Bobby was able to slip in a victory. Wow, and that's game one to Bobby, kind of from the snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, and that is a pretty important game there. It feels like in what is a do or die match here for Rev and the Bug Catchers org now in the semifinals of the playoffs. Wow, so we're gonna go to game two here. Rev is gonna go first on Chaos Control. See if they can kind of flip the script. Post side, lots of potential stuff coming in here. More battle traps, maybe Zombiras and stuff are going to come in. And yeah, I feel like a lot of Chaos Control players have moved away from Upstart Goblin for kind of exactly the reasons that we saw last game. It just makes it hard to kill your opponent. This is a control deck. It struggles to deal, let alone 8,000 points of damage to the opponent. Try 10,000, right? And we saw Rev just kind of hitting a wall where they didn't have enough gas, and Bobby was able to exploit that and seal out the game there. Because Rev was worried about decking out, so they had to make some more aggressive, faster plays that Bobby was able to easily answer, and left themselves exposed for a game shot there. And yeah, so the upstart coming through here once again, going to put Bobby up to 9,000. See if we run into the same issue again. Rev going to set a couple back row pass, okay. Bobby here has DD Warrior Lady. Nice early easy threat, built-in protection, of course. Gonna get blocked by the scapegoat, though. Rev protecting their life points as much as possible. DD Warrior Lady will kill a goat token, though. But Rev, as we know, is playing Creature Swap, is playing Metamorphosis, maybe just setting up for that play. 8,000 life points, like you can kind of afford to take a DD Warrior Lady shot here. But maybe just looking to go for a little bit of a combo play on their next turn. And Rev here. We're going to go Breaker. Okay, so Breaker could get a nice little 2-for-1 here. Pop the back row. It's a Dust Tornado, though. Okay, so Rev, no chainable. Dust Tornado is going to trade 1-for-1 with Torrential Tribute. And now Breaker can just trade 1-for-1 with the DD Warrior Lady, but, nothing ventured, nothing gained. If anything, DD Warrior Lady actually got a little bit of value here because it took out a goat token with it. So it's like traded up by like a quarter of a card if you want to be technical. But yeah, Breaker will kill the DD Warrior Lady. DD Warrior Lady will take the Breaker with her. And then Rev will pass turn. Bobby here has Kaiku. Just trying to get through these goat tokens as fast as possible. Not going to attack in for any damage, though. Rev is going to go meta into Thousand Eyes. Yeah, as expected with the early Scapegoat when you were still at full life. Definitely makes it feel like you have something to combo with it. Going for the Breaker last turn, just because you had the opportunity for a nice little 2-for-1 there. Didn't end up panning out, but now has the backup play. With that meta, that was likely in the hand the whole time. But that Book of Moon, yeah, as mentioned in the prep, Bobby is playing Book of Moon at least in the 55, so coming in post side, very, very good against Thousand Eyes Restrict specifically. That is going to shut down the old Scapegoat Metamorphosis combo here. Restrict is now a sitting duck for this Kaiku. Rev going to set a back row and a monster, though. We'll see if Bobby can clear out this Thousand Eyes with this Kaiku attack. Going to go attempt it. And that's going to go through. Yeah, nice. So Book of Moon, getting some value there, keeping their board online. Kaiku, of course, not doing too much at this point in time, just an 1800 vanilla for all intents and purposes. But still, you know, Book is better when you have monsters to pair with to attack after you set the monster. So doing its job is just, you know, something to recuperate the temporary lost card advantage from the Book. Bobby will set a back row pass. Rev here, gonna go MST the back row, setting up to resolve maybe whatever this potential flip monster is. Hitting a Torrential Tribute, okay. All right, that's a big trap gone. No, you don't need to play around that anymore. And let's see if they actually had a nice flip to resolve here. It's gonna be Gravekeeper Spy coming through. We're going double attack position. Okay, show me the Snatch Steal. Oh, we're gonna go Tsukuyomi. Okay, so no Snatch for the big, big damage. But Suk here, gonna set down the Kaiku, can beat over it with the Suk, and then get in for 24. So Rev, realizing that last game, you know, they kind of ran out of damage cards. So while you have your double spies on the field, let's try and get some damage in with them. Definitely like this, you know, a little bit of course correction compared to last game. Hitting in for 24. Dropping Bobby down to 65, making some progress. Pretty nice. And notably, Rev is actually just up a bunch of cards here right now as well. Just doing a really good job here so far this game. Suk with the nice little +1 so far. Spy, of course, kind of the pseudo +1. And they haven't taken any damage this turn, so kind of textbook Chaos Control gameplay so far this game. Bobby here staring down a couple spies. Can deal with one just by normal summon attacking, most likely, but then you run into the second one. And you don't really want to throw out a lot of monsters here into a known Tsukuyomi, right? Especially with DD Warrior Lady gone, one of your best anti-Suk cards is not going to be a factor the rest of this game. So unless you have like Donzalug, summoning a monster into these two spies is a little bit, you know, suspicious. Bobby's going to go Exiled, kill the token, then pop a spy. Still not great value for the Exiled, though. Oh, and then we're going to Smashing Ground the other spy. Wow, yeah. So Bobby recognizing that it's really... Well, and not only is two spies scary to deal with, it's extra scary to deal with when you can't easily beat over one thanks to Tsukuyomi. And notably that Tsukuyomi, if you're not summoning a monster to try and kill the spy to then get killed by the Tsukuyomi, Rev can just go flip down another spy, flip it up again, and summon out the third one because we know that he's on 3. So yeah, Bobby really stuck between a rock and a hard place here, and having to make a very, very card advantage negative play here by going Exile plus Smashing Ground to deal with both of those spies. And yeah, Rev's going to be really, really happy about that one. Lots of resources used just to break up the Suk plus Spy combo. And yeah, I mean, every time Warrior has to go super minus to deal with a threat from Chaos Control, you're going to be really happy as the control player. So Rev, once again, in a pretty solid spot here. But as we saw last game, has 6,500 points of damage to get through. So we'll see if they're able to. We're going to go set a monster, activate Pot of Greed, playing around Trap Dust Shoot like we saw last game. Drop to 3 cards in hand. Activate Thunder Dragon, which will put them up to 4, but at this point, it's probably fine. And Bobby will fire off the Dust Shoot. Just the Thunder Dragons as copies, so really not the end of the world. But you do know now about Creature Swap and Heavy Storm. Okay, so a little bit of knowledge off that Dust Shoot. Not the most insane one, though. And yeah, a little shortcut there. Rev has to shuffle back the Thunder Dragon, but they can just discard the one remaining in hand to grab the one remaining in deck. So you can just shortcut it by discarding the Thunder Dragon from your hand. All ends up being the same. Cool. And Rev here with a potential scary flip monster here. Bobby down a bunch of cards. See what they can do. Draw, go. Nothing crazy. Rev here. Set monster pass. Okay. So it does have Tribute Summon for Thunder Dragon plays available if they so choose. Choosing not to at this point in time, but slowly building up the defensive walls here. Just needs to find an offensive threat at some point to make some progress. Zambira is one. Okay, cute little play here. So Zambira, of course, can't attack on its own, but you can go Oh, and I guess we knew that the Sook was set last turn, right? Yeah, Bobby knew that because they saw that Sook was not in hand from the Trap Dust Shoot, so the set had to be Tsukuyomi. I missed that, but pretty obvious now. And so the play here, right, is now you can start clocking the opponent with the Tsukuyomi every turn because you can just go Sook flip down the Zombira and beat for 11. So nice little play here, just utilizing another monster here as a Sook target so that you can clock the opponent. Really prioritizing doing damage this game here, both with setting up for these Tsukuyomi plays, but also with the double Gravekeeper Spy attacks. So like I mentioned before, kind of righting the wrong from last game where they were struggling to deal a lot of damage, and this time making it a priority, and so far making some good progress on Bobby's life point total. Blade Knight's going to come down, though. Easy way to clear out this Zombira if Rev wants to allow it. And they will. Blade Knight attacks. We're going to go Dust Tornado to the back row. Hitting a Solemn. Okay, so maybe clearing into a Mirror Force. Mirror Force would be nice. It's going to be a Raigeki break. Discard that last remaining Thunder Dragon. Clear out the Blade Knight. Yep, you're totally fine. It's not really a real 2-for-1 because Thunder Dragon's not a real card, of course. And yeah, you're pretty happy with this. With Rev, as Rev, at the end of the day, you've removed another threat. Just Tornading a Solemn Judgment is a lot of value as well. And you keep your Zombira on the board, which is not only just a very good card in the matchup, but is also your Tsukuyomi target to keep clocking the opponent. So killing like 3 birds with 1 stone there is Rev. Good stuff. Holding Prio and Draw Phase to play around potential Dust Shoot. Totally fine though. Just passing. No Dust Shoot here from Bobby at this point in time. We're just going to go for the same play. Flip Zombira, normal Sook, bop, bop, bop. This is also really safe, by the way, because Torrential is gone. Rev probably would not be doing this in a world where Torrential hadn't been used yet, because that's just a free +1 for Bobby. Because you don't have to worry about this, there's really no, like, profitable way for Bobby to answer this play at this time being. And yeah, Bobby's just going to have to Mirror Force Tsukuyomi. And this Zombira will live to see another day. Swords is going to come through here to protect the Zombira. A little bit of a sitting duck here in face-down defense position when Bobby knows what it is. So Swords will protect it so that you can at least live long enough to flip it face up and have it be in attack position, which is where you want it to be. So nice little tactical use of Swords there to protect your board. Bobby sets a back row pass. Rev here, just flip up the Zombira probably. Just playing to maybe like Smashing Ground, but is what it is. Set a back row pass. You'd rather play into like Smashing Ground rather than like lose to like a Dust Tornado on the Swords and then they beat over your Zombira. That'd be pretty catastrophic. Bobby here going to summon Blade Knight, MST. Yeah, so kind of like I was just saying here, has the back row removal to deal with the sword, so flipping up the Zombira is going to be nice into this exact combo. They do have a set monster for this Blade Knight to beat over, though, which might get some value. Dekoichi just dies here. Another Zombira. Okay, so we're setting all our Zombiras here. Kind of funny. But now this Blade Knight is a sitting duck to the Zombira that is still alive, unless Bobby has a Battle Trap. Rev here. We're going to Heavy Storm Ring being chained on the Zombira, so 2100 to both players. But the Blade Knight will stick around. 2 Zombiras being dealt with. Not sure if Rev plays the third, so that big monster could just be gone. We're going to go Sangan plus creature swap, though. That is kind of brutal. Wow. And Rev is like, okay, I ran out of attack points last game, so let me just steal your biggest monster. And we're going to get tons of value here. Creature swap insane into these very simplified board states, really shoring up a weakness, I feel like, against Warrior, by the way. Warrior thrives in these simplified game states, right, with their Blade Knights and just their big, beaters, essentially. But creature swap, really, really good when you can set up these combos. And we're going to get Blade Knight, attack over Sangan, deal 1,000 points of damage, and then search up. You just go for Magician of Faith here. That'd be pretty nice. Gonna grab, yeah, Magician of Faith feels pretty strong. Sook's already gone. Serpent doesn't really do too much. It's not like you need the defensive wall at this point. So let's just grab Faith and have dual threats here, right? It's like, okay, you might be able to deal with the Blade Knight 2-turn clocking you, but I have Faith for pot. And when you're top decking, it's going to be hard to deal with both. So Rev in a very, very solid spot here. Bobby with the top deck BLS, though, is absolutely insane. Wow. Okay, are we just going to win? Is this going to be a 2-0 in kind of the most insane fashion ever? Top deck BLS, slam that down immediately. Get in for, what is that? 4,000 damage. Drop Rev down to 1,900. Pass with lethal on board. The Faith is not enough. You can just attack over it and then trigger the second attack to get in for lethal. So Rev was in an insane position, but Bobby with the top deck BLS to threaten lethal here. Oh man, is this just going to be a 2-0? Are the Bug Catcher's hopes and dreams going to be eliminated right here thanks to top deck Blackluster Soldier? Oh no. What a game. Okay, all's fair in love and war, man. Top deck BLS for near game into top deck Snatch Shield for game. And you know what? Rev was in a very commanding position, so the top deck craziness ends up just kind of being a wash, and Rev wins from a position that they probably win 90% of the time. Um, and there we go. So Rev forcing a game 3 here. Bugcatcher's hopes still alive. What a crazy couple of games, though. Absolute back and forth gameplay there, especially in game 2. Here in game 3, though, Bobby will be able to go first for the first time in this match, which is very, very important for the Warrior player. We'll see if they can use that initiative to great effect. But man, what an ending to that game, too. Holy moly. Bobby leading out with Delinquent Duo. Okay, we saw Rev do this in game 1 and not able to close it out, but Bobby off to a solid start here, thanks to the duo. Unless Rev has like Night Assailant or Serpent in hand. Night Assailant's probably come out post board. Hitting Saku. Rev is going to discard a Gravekeeper Spy. Wow, so 2 very, very nice cards against Warrior. Hitting the bin already. Bobby's got to be pretty happy seeing that, I would have to imagine. And off to a nice early lead. Gonna go T-set pass, or set a monster 2 back row pass, I should say. Interesting start. Bobby doesn't seem to be a huge flip monster enjoyer. I haven't seen any spies, haven't seen any Magician of Faith, Morphing Jars, or anything out of them so far here in these semifinals. But definitely something that Warrior decks can do as a little bit of a mix-up. So Rev might have to, respect this a little bit. Gonna hold Prio, of course, play around a potential Dust Shoot if you top deck or Mystical Space Typhoon or something. Or another quick play spell like Scapegoat. Saw this in game 1 as well. Playing around that Dust Shoot, firing off this Scapegoat here in the draw phase to keep their hand size underneath 4. And now we're just going to go, once again, playing around Dust Shoot, set it back row, pot of greed up to 3. Similar to game 1, but in reverse positions, recuperating that duo disadvantage by firing off that pot and going +1 on the back end. Now we're just going to go set another couple back row pass with these goat tokens on the board. We'll see if Bobby had a real flip here. Rev could be setting these back row just to play around potential Faith into duo. So these might not be real, something Bobby needs to keep in mind. We're going to flip summon Donzalug. Okay, yeah. Warriors just flip anything post side. Going to go summon King Tiger Wanghu as well, the classic anti-chaos control card. A little bit too late since the Go tokens are on the board. But at least able to summon the Donzalug before the King Tiger came down, which is probably, in a vacuum, Bobby could have just gone like assuming they had both of these in their hand, they could have just gone normal summon King Tiger last turn and prevented some of the scapegoat stuff from coming down. But Donzalug is a very, very strong card in this matchup, so wanting to ensure that they could summon that before the King Tiger would block it makes things a little bit awkward. Gave Rev an opportunity to resolve the scapegoat, which could come back to bite Bobby. But I can understand going for this play the way you did, assuming those were your 2 options turn 1. And at least 2 monsters on the board will start clearing out these Go tokens really fastly. And that's exactly what we'll see. So Rev down to 2 tokens. Bobby adds another back row pass. Tiger and Don, very, very threatening monsters at this point in time. But Rev has the Snatch Steal on the King Tiger. Will this resolve, though? Lots of back row here for Bobby. It will. Okay, King Tiger goes over. Going to go attack over the Donzalug. But we got the Mirror Force to deal with it. Wow, okay. However, this is a nice 2-for-1 for Rev. Snatch Shield trading for King Tiger plus Mirror Force. Removing King Tiger is also really, really nice. Making your potential, scapegoat plays, metamorphosis plays a lot better down the line. So really, really valuable Snatch Steal here for Rev, even though it was answered pretty quickly. Just getting lots of value. And Donzalug here, not doing too much, staring down 2 Go tokens. So not super worried about that at the time being. Rev in a decent spot here. Gonna set another back row. Bobby here. Gonna go fire off Reinforcement of the Army. I wonder what the pick is here. You could just go Blade Knight. Do you go Exiled Force? No, we're just going to go Blade Knight. Just go big damage. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Clear out these goat tokens. Threaten the Donzalug attack next turn. Pretty clear Rev doesn't have any battle traps unless they drew on the last turn. They're going to ring the Dawn. Okay, so prioritizing keeping at least one goat token alive. Maybe threatening creature swap or metamorphosis, or at least good to bluff it regardless. Blade Knight clears out one token, but still one remaining. And Rev here playing this nicely. Keeps the goat token around. Show me the metamorphosis. It's going to be just a Zombira, okay? Easy way to deal with the Blade Knight. Beat over. And that's going to deal with it. Wow, okay, so Rev here starting to grind this one out. Zombira hitting the board, getting some value. Pretty nice this early on. Bobby's going to slam down that BLS, though, getting that Light Engrave thanks to Blade Knight. He's drawn that every game. I mean, the games have gone pretty long, so not super weird, but getting lots of value out of BLS every game so far. Yeah. Summon that. Banish the Goat token. Yeah, Zombira's not a threat to BLS at this point in time, so let's play around the creature swap. Let's play around the metamorphosis. Makes sense to me. Set another back row. End-phase Dust Tornado. Pop it. Using their one time on the Solemn Judgment. Hitting it. Nice. All right, so that's a really nice play there for Rev. Bobby summoning the BLS. Usually you want to do that when you have Solemn to back it up, especially in Warrior, where it's kind of your, your kingpin. But Rev hitting the Solemn with the Dust Tornado, so unless Bobby has another copy of that, BLS could just die to any potential out Rev has here. We're going to go Raigeki Break End Phase, discard Tribe, deal with the BLS. BLS does secure a little bit more than 2-for-1s to take out the Goat token as well. But it has been answered here. All right. All square in card advantage for the most part. Zombira, a little bit weaker than at full strength, though. So Bobby maybe a little bit in the lead here. Life points are relatively even. Near top deck situation, though, probably favors Warrior. Especially because Rev doesn't have Chaos Live, no Lights in the Grave. But plenty of Yu-Gi-Oh! Left to play here in this game 3. Top deck Upstart Goblin, churn through the deck a little bit faster, basically equalizing the life points, so now things are almost dead even. And the top deck Swords as well. Kind of a non-bow here with the Zombira, because Zombira on its own is supposed to dissuade your opponent from attacking. So Swords, they kind of step on each other's toes a little bit. Not tons of value. Bobby has an opportunity with a little bit higher quality top decks here to maybe take a lead. We'll see, though. Bobby draws for turn, draw, go. Just has to weigh out these swords. Not like you're under any pressure thanks to the Zombira anyway. Set a monster pass. Now Bobby has to think, though. Plenty of stuff in the graveyard. We're going to go Graceful Charity. That is pretty nice. Discard a Dead Trap Dust Shoot. And a Smashing Ground. Sure. I mean, I guess at this point you don't want to Smashing Ground the Zombira since it already got value. You'd rather just beat over it with like a Blade Knight or something. We're going to go Premature Burial for the BLS. That is pretty nice. Maximum value Premature Burial here. Go ahead, banish that Sun Monster. Hitting the Gravekeeper's Spy, not the Faith like you probably wanted. But preventing Spy Resolution is always nice. And once again, Zombira is not a threat to you. And BLS is also a really nice way to get value under Swords. So yeah, this Sword's almost doing nothing here for Rev for the most part. Because BLS doesn't care about it really, and it stepped on the toes of the Zombira, so unfortunate time. I think Swords is very good against Warrior, but sometimes it can be a little bit awkward, like we just saw here. And now Bobby here has Blackluster Soldier on the board, threatening to go and deal with the Zombira. Rev has one card that needs to deal with this. Otherwise, if BLS can live another turn and deal with the Zombira, Rev is going to be in a very, very bad position. No, just Zombira to defense. Bobby here, MST the back row. BLS can go beat over Zombira, get in for 3k. Or we can go Tribe for even more damage as well. 4,600 points of damage coming in hot here. Rev will drop down very, very low. 2k life points. Lethal on board for Bobby. Yeah, Blackluster Soldier, good card. Especially, yeah, when you can premature it and have it stick around for more than one turn. Oh, and just ring for game. Yeah. There you have it. Yep, Rev just not really drawing what they needed here in Game 3 down the stretch. Bobby, the early BLS, the early duo. Graceful helped as well, of course. Really, really well played, though. Getting tons of value out of that BLS, all 3 games. And that is going to be 2-1. Bobby Buckets, 4 damage step, taking it down against Rev, knocking out our tournament 1 seeds, the Bug Catchers. Damage step with the second straight upset in a row, finding a berth here into the finals. And let's do it live, folks. Bug Catchers eliminated. Damage step moving on to the finals against the winner of Bomb Squad versus the Bones Generation. Bomb Squad up to an early lead here in that one, but plenty of Yu-Gi-Oh! Left to play. Definitely, tune back in to see the results of that and the rest of these playoffs here. Hope you guys enjoyed this match. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will catch you all next time.